Welcome to this Men's Colognes channel. Let's talk about Versace Eros. I've got all 5 of them here, 4 in full bottles, 1 in sample, and I'm going to share with you what I think about each one of them, which one would be best for you. Stick around until the end because I'm going to share with you which one is my personal favorite. Let's start off with Versace Eros Eau de Toilette because it was the first one to be released. So let's start with the OG that started all the hype. If you're going to test all of them, I'm going to show you a little tip. Don't test them on a scent strip. I've got a bit of scent strips here just to remind myself of the scents, but they do really smell completely differently on the skin. So if you're going to test them on your skin, because for whatever reason, they just almost smell like a different fragrance, especially one of them, the skin versus the scent strip. So that's one tip for you. Versace Eros Eau de Toilette is the freshest one out of them all, but I would argue that there is also Eau de Parfum that is fresher in the opening, but this one is the most light in the opening with this minty airiness that really captures you. It's beautiful, and then it settles down to this rich tonka oak mossy sort of a fragrance. It's got this really juicy opening of this green apple that is absolutely to die for, and this fragrance is really long lasting, really projecting. So I mean, I'll keep repeating myself, but all of them pretty much have got incredible longevity, especially the Versace Eros, the blue bottles. They pretty much all last 10 to 12 hours, so really good, and projection is also very good. This one I would say 6 to 7 hours projection sillage, but it's an amazing fragrance. We have tested this one a lot. We've asked women what fragrance do they prefer, and we've put a lot of fragrances against Versace Eros Eau de Toilette, and most women would choose this fragrance because it's just very good on the skin. It smells absolutely amazing, and in the air you've got this really just hypnotizing sexy sillage. Next up, we've got Versace Eros Eau de Parfum. This fragrance, surprisingly, it's much fresher in the opening. In the traditional sense, it's much more citrusy, and the opening of the Eau de Parfum almost reminds me of an opening of the Chanel Allure Homme Sport line, because it's got this mandarin mintiness that is also in the Allure Homme Sport line. And I would say that the Eau de Parfum, it's a bit more classy smelling. The Eau de Toilette, it's kind of boyish, young and fun. This Eau de Parfum, it's a bit more put together. It's also a bit stronger straight off the bat, a tiny bit. They're all super strong, but it's a bit stronger. So if you like that, you might love that as well. This one also has got an added note of patchouli, which makes it a bit more deep and dense, and it just develops more as it sits on the skin. So if you want something a bit more complex, you want the ride of all the notes to develop into something really just mossy, but also earthy, and kind of smells like the ocean depths. That's what patchouli always smells like to me. Then the Eau de Parfum, it's an amazing fragrance. They're pretty similar. I mean, most people just wouldn't tell a difference. If they smelt it in the air, they would just say this is Versace Eros if they know the fragrance, but they wouldn't be able to necessarily distinguish between the two. But I think if you prefer something a bit stronger, and if you, for example, don't like the light mintiness that is, for example, in Armani Code as well, that mintiness, that light mintiness, and you want something a bit more strong, then I would say go for the Eau de Parfum because it's just amazing. Sillage, longevity, absolutely incredible. This one has got a stronger sillage. This will be strongly smelled on you for 12 hours. It's absolutely incredible. So you get a little bit more for what you pay for. It's a bit more expensive, but it is also even more strong and has got even a stronger longevity. I personally especially love the opening because it reminds me of one of my absolute favorite fragrances in the world, Allure Homme Sport Extrême. But yeah, I'm just a bit biased, but the opening, it's what gets me in this fragrance, in this flanker Eau de Parfum. Now let's talk about the Parfum version. This is the only bottle I don't have. but I love it. This is my favorite out of the Eros flankers because it's very smooth compared to the other two. It just really shows like more sophistication, and this one smells extremely different on paper and on the skin. So this one never tested on the paper. I mean, it could be completely two different fragrances. It's that different. On the skin, it just goes much more deep, and that patchouli in there really develops. This is also the most masculine smelling to me personally. I know fragrance is very personal, but this version of Versace Eros is the most masculine to me, perhaps because it's very spicy. It's got a ton of black pepper. It's also still got that freshness, vanilla. It's got a bit more also of vetiver, and that is also very masculine note, and a lot more lavender as well. So I think all these notes that are in the originals are a bit more amped up, and I've got it sprayed here on the skin, and just the dry down is what it just it's so good. It's one of those fragrances that has got this vanillic dry down, but still the lavender is super strong. So it doesn't smell, like a feminine vanilla. It smells extremely masculine. And if you want a fragrance that is very strong, because again, it's got 12 hours projection longevity, and you want something a bit smoother, a bit denser, darker, moodier, and the quality, in my opinion, it smells much more expensive than the other two flankers, get yourself the Parfum. Now we've got two fresher versions of Eros, and we've got the brand new Energy Eau de Parfum, and then we've got Versace Eros Flame as well. I would consider these two to be more of this spring-summer version of Eros, because they are just much more citrusy, much more airy. They smell amazing in the hot weather, whereas the Versace Eros, the blue bottles, I would say they're perfect for fall and winter, going out, like clubbing, bars, that sort of a situation. Let's start with Flame. I personally love the Flame because it's got a lot of grapefruit in here, and it's also aromatic with the rosemary. It smells very positive as well. I think it's the most original out of the whole line, and something I think it's a bit more underrated. Most people will go for the Versace Eros, the blue bottles, and I think this is just a little hidden gem because it's such a good fragrance. It's got this slight tartness to it with that grapefruit that is extremely good for high heat situations, and you don't often find fresh fragrances that are super long lasting, whereas this is super long lasting, again projecting, and it's got enough of that depth that it's not only like a citrusy fresh fragrance, it's got some grip in there. It's very attractive smelling. You've got also this amazing mandarin orange opening. Overall, this fragrance, I would say it's fun, young, fresh, and we'll get to compliments without smelling like a typical Versace Eros. Not everybody will be able to recognize the Versace Eros DNA in this, which I think is a good thing if you are in a group of friends that wear Versace Eros. This is a nice alternative. And next up, we've got the newest Versace Eros Energy. Energy, and it's very energetic, let me tell you. I'll spray it here in the air. Oh, it's such a happy fragrance. To me, this is a love at first sniff sort of a fragrance, and I bet if you smelled this, let me know in the comments if you have smelled this new fragrance and what you think about it. But to me, this is a fragrance that will sell very well because the opening is just absolute perfection. You just can't help but fall in love with this scent. It's so good. I smelled it for a second at Boots, and I was like, this is coming home with me because I love the scent, and I just knew that this was going to be a good scent to recommend to you guys. But of course, we had to test it. I didn't want to just come out with first impressions because I think a lot of you just wonder which Eros do I get. So I thought this is only best to do a full comprehensive guide. This fragrance definitely reminds me of Credo Ventus, like Yeah, it just does, but more of the cologne, the fresher version of Aventus. However, I would say that although it reminds me of Creed Aventus, it's not a dupe. It's got its own identity. It's much more citrusy. It smells almost like lemon drop, those candies. It smells extremely like citrusy, but also sweet in the opening. It's got this amazing blackcurrant bitterness to it that makes it even more fresh, but also extremely masculine smelling. It's got a lovely patchouli as well, but it's also got juicy blood orange in there. It's got lime. It's such an incredible citrusy scent that is just refreshing, but also because it's got that patchouli, it isn't only a hot weather fragrance. I think this is a perfect fragrance for every single day, because again, it's not overtly citrusy and just that. Similar to Eros Flame, but I think overall, if you're choosing, I think most people would choose the Energy because it's much more of a likable, crowd-pleasing fragrance. You'll get tons of compliments with this one. My husband tested it and he literally, I think it was his second day of wearing it, because I always like to, you know, just test it on him so I can smell it like I would, you know, on a guy, not on myself, just sniffing it on my wrist. And he got a compliment getting a package from a postman. He was like, "What are you wearing? It's so good." And he asked for the name, because even after my husband has worn this for a good 3 hours, this was very projecting, and he wasn't standing that close, like they were a bit apart, and he still was able to smell it outside. So this has got an incredible sillage for I think a good 6 to 7 hours. It's very strong. It's a bit less projecting than the blue bottles, I would say, but it's still incredible. Like 7 hours of very strong projection. That's still good in my book. And longevity is also, this is a very long lasting fragrance, a good 10-11 hours, so still slightly less than the blue bottles, but you know, this is a much more fresher fragrance. It's harder to make those fresher fragrances last. You won't find many that are that long lasting, just like the Energy version of this fragrance. This is a fragrance that is extremely attractive, compliment getting. I think they've done a great job. If you are looking to buy yourself this, you won't be disappointed. You'll get attention for it. You'll smell extremely manly, masculine, confident, and great. Let's rate them from the bottom of my favorites to my top favorite. At the bottom, I'll have to put Versace Eros Flame, but it's still a good fragrance. Next up would be Versace Eros Eau de Toilette. Next up is Versace Eros Eau de Parfum. This is absolutely amazing. I love the opening. It's super, super sexy. And next up, it's hard for me to differentiate. So together, it'll be the Energy and also the Parfum version of the blue bottles together. I'm unable to decide. They're both absolutely amazing. And I think they would make a perfect collection, like fragrance collection. This one would be perfect for like summer and also work, and the Versace Eros Parfum for going out and fall and winter. They were just meant to be in a fragrance collection together. So I love them both. Let me know which one is your personal favorite Versace Eros. There's quite a lot, so let me know which one is your favorite, and let me know what you think about the new Energy if you've had a chance to smell it. I absolutely love it. I link them all down below for you and any of the best deals I can find for them at discounters as well. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.